This is my brand new Pearl Reference One drum kit. I am super stoked to now be an official Pearl artist, as well as have this gorgeous kit here in my studio. So I've been playing Pearl since I got my very first drum set way back in the day. It was a Pearl export in mirror chrome finish, but I always dreamed of having a reference kit. This is kind of the ultimate kit that Pearl offers. They're absolutely gorgeous. I got the matte black finish, which is just so classy and timeless. I've got a 10, 12, and 16-inch tom. For the rack toms, I went with the shallower depths, so that's 10 by 7 and 12 by 8. That was important to me so I can mount them a little bit lower, closer to the bass drum. Also from a sonic perspective, I find that it's just a little bit more focused and less boomy, so I really like the shallow depth from that point of view as well. The floor tom is a beefy boy. This is a 16 by 16, just big and powerful and low, and that's exactly what I want from a floor tom. The kick drum is a 22 by 16. It's extremely beefy. I love the low end I'm getting from it. It's the best kick drum I've ever owned. And then I also got the matching snare drum. So this is a 14 by 5. It's maple and birch, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So each drum has a slightly different wood composition. That's part of the whole idea behind the reference series, is that each drum is individually crafted to be the best that it can possibly be, depending on the tonal characteristics that you want from that specific drum. For example, you take everything that you want out of a 12-inch tom, you optimize the wood combination, the bearing edges, the thickness, everything that would make it the best 12-inch tom it can be, and that's what it is. The 12-inch tom is pure maple. It sits right in the middle of the spectrum. The 10-inch tom, and anything smaller, has 2 inner plies of birch. And then as you go larger than 12 inches, you start adding mahogany. So both the floor tom here and the kick drum have mahogany, and that enhances the low end. And then over here on my secondary snare, I've got a Reference One Brass Snare. That is a killer drum. Originally, I actually had a much less fancy drum on my order list, and that's because this secondary snare is usually tuned low, and it just kind of has to go thud, and so it doesn't have to be a super expensive drum by any means. But in talking to Pearl, they saw the order list come in, and they said, "Are you sure you want that snare drum? I mean, we've got a lot of really, really nice ones. Maybe you should take a look at some of the other ones." And I thought about it a little bit, and I realized it would be silly not to have 2 nice drums. They can both be main snares, depending on the situation. So I wanted to get a metal one to contrast with the wooden one, and I couldn't be happier with my choice. These are both excellent snare drums. I love the snare strainers on both of these drums. They're super smooth and high quality. They've got a locking mechanism, so it's not going to come off in the middle of a song, which is great. There's a little button to release it. And there's also a locking mechanism for the snare wire tension. So the whole thing just feels super high quality and secure. And on this kit, it's really the first time in a long time that I'm not using any muffling at all, except for a single half gel on this floor tom just to kind of control the overtones. But the sustain of all of these is exactly where I want it without any dampening, which is crazy. For a long time, I felt like there was this trend where all the drum companies wanted to make as much resonance as possible. They wanted to just remove all of the points of contact from the hardware so that the shell can ring for a long time. And that sounds great in theory, but I often found I had to compensate with gaff tape and gels and all that kind of stuff. And on this kit, I don't feel the need to do any of that. And Pearl did something really smart on this, which I didn't even know until I opened the box, but they have these new dampening rings here, and they're super easy to pop on and off, and it just kind of dampens that hardware a little bit to get rid of some of that excessive ring. The kick drum actually comes with a really convenient bass drum muffler, just a little pillow that you can Velcro in there. I usually use one of those anyway from Evans, the EQ kick pad, but it's convenient that they included it with the drum already. For the hardware, I've got a mix of rack and stands. So I did one big curved bar out front and then a couple of cymbal stands on the sides. The rack, you just can't beat it for quick setup and breakdown. You get everything memory locked and then you just drop all the pieces in and it's super fast. So I love that for touring. And then I did the cymbal stands on the outside just to save a little bit of space. You know, I have a reasonably large drum kit, but not so large that it demands a 3-sided rack or something crazy like that. So in my case, the single rack bar works out well, and I just supplement them with these extra stands when I need them. This stack over here is mounted on a closed hi-hat attachment, and I just have that clamped with an adapter to this cymbal stand over here. For pedals, I'm using the Eliminators. I actually ended up getting both the single and the double pedal. My very first double pedal was an Eliminator over 20 years ago. I started with the chain drive, then I used the belts for a while. I used the Demon drives for like 10 years. I've got them on a shelf over there. And I loved those. I actually really liked the direct drive feel. But what eventually convinced me to go with the Eliminators is that for the past year or so, I've been playing them at different venues. I used to always travel with my own pedals when I needed to do double bass stuff because I was afraid the settings wouldn't be right and then I wouldn't be able to play. But for the last year or so, I've just been backlining a double pedal and it makes so much sense. I don't know why I didn't do that earlier, but just the amount of stuff I have to travel with, it just became a little bit out of hand. And I thought, let me just backline the pedal and I'll ask for the Eliminators. And I just loved showing up to venues and playing these pedals. The hi-hat stand is also the Eliminator. It's the 2-legged one, which is a little bit more convenient for positioning of the double bass pedal. But beyond that, it's just the most solid hi-hat stand that I have ever played. So much so that I actually have 3 of them, one for each of my different kits in different parts of the world. I have 2 drum sets in the States, as well as this one here in Europe. And a good hi-hat stand is just something I can't compromise on. I love this clutch as well. It saves so much time. You just pop this off, pull it off, and you're done. To put it back on, you just snap it in place and then it's staying there. It's not moving, it's not gonna unscrew during the gig, it's solid. I can't believe how much of a lifesaver this is. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but all of these things do add up when you're in a stressful tour environment. There's so many things that can go wrong, so the less I have to worry about my drums themselves, the better. All of the cymbal arms and cymbal stands are the 1030 series. That's the top of the line, infinitely adjustable. You've got this GyroLock tilter, which allows you to go in any direction. The quick release clamps here on the cymbals, these are super convenient. It takes just 2 seconds to pull this off. No more spinning your wing nuts or anything. And they also stay in place. They stay locked. So if you want to set the tension, you can just set it and it'll stay. It's not going to unscrew throughout the night. The snare drum stands also are the 1030 series. I'm super picky about snare drum position. It's one of my pet peeves. It has to be basically exactly flat. Otherwise, it just drives me absolutely crazy. So the gear tilter stands are just a non-starter for me. I can't deal with them. So I absolutely need the 360-degree gyro lock tilter on this. So I've got that on both snare stands. And I'm also using the new tom mounts. So these are the L brackets that Pearl came out with a year or 2 ago. And I gotta say, I've been enjoying them. There's just one drum key screw to turn, and then you can basically move it in any position. And I really underestimated how much of a difference it makes to be able to lift the drum vertically out of position when you're breaking down the kit, for example. Because with the side mounted thing, you always gotta like unpack in a specific order. Like I gotta get the snare out of the way so that I can pull the tom off, or maybe I gotta do this one first so that this one can get out. And with these, I don't have to worry about that at all. I just pull them off. And also I've really been enjoying this for tuning. So to just be able to pull the drum off to access the bottom head, for example, just pull it off, flip it over, do my tuning and put it back without having to move anything else, that has been absolutely huge. There was really no question in my mind that I was going to go with the Reference series. I've been a big fan of these for a long time. I've had the opportunity to play quite a few of them on backline kits. Our front of house engineer prefers these as well. Whenever we get the chance to request them, we do. So I'm stoked about these drums. I'm super happy to be working with Pearl in an official capacity now. I've been playing their stuff for quite a while. I know a lot of people thought for years that I was already a Pearl artist just because that's what I've been out there playing, but it took some time behind the scenes for things to line up. But it's great to finally be on the roster, so huge shout out and thanks to the Pearl team for making this happen, and I'll see you guys soon in another video.